Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 68 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Luo Feng led the way, and Wuxin God King used the hidden sky tunneling technique to bring the team nearby. Look! Luo Feng looked into the distance, where several swaying purple flowers in the distance emitted specks of purple light, which held a strong attraction for cultivators like them. These treasures produced by the Dream Realm can greatly benefit life within the braided cage, Emperor Guishu observed. These are the relatively common, purple Heart Realm flowers, each worth 3 million merit points. From a distance, there are a total of 7 purple Heart Realm flowers. The value of treasures on the Land of Origin is assessed based on the merit points of the 2 ancient countries. Where are the Dream Realm creatures? Asked Wuxin God King. Over there, Luo Feng pointed into the distance. Those ordinary-looking trees around the flowers are actually plant life forms. If we get close, we'll be attacked by 9 plant life forms. Luo Feng pointed out the 9 inconspicuous big trees. Dealing with them isn't hard, but we need to be careful not to damage the treasures. As we agreed earlier, Yun Qian, show your poison fog, Brother Wuxin, and I will make a move. Brother Luo He, you protect these treasures, commanded Emperor Guishu. Wuxin, Yun Qian, and Luo Feng all nodded. Luo Feng knew very well that, in terms of the intricacy of techniques, he was far inferior to Wuxin God King and Emperor Guishu. His advantage lay in having multiple avatars and being resilient. Hence, at critical moments, he could entangle Dream Realm creatures and protect the treasures as best as possible. Act now. Under the hidden sky tunneling technique, the 4 of them quickly approached the purple flowers. Tilde. Invisible rules began to ripple, revealing all 4 of their figures. Under the control of the rules of the 9 tree life forms, huge branches transformed into giant hands that enveloped them, while numerous tree roots burst from the ground, entwining towards Luo Feng and the others. In the Dream Realm, various treasures seem to be key to the operation of the realm itself. Approaching these treasures exposes any use of escape skills due to the Dream Realm's operational rules. Even alien beings from the 2 realms palace, the Wanfao Tower, and the time-space lonely boat would be forced to reveal themselves when near the treasures. Luo Feng, though it was his first time in the Dream Realm, already felt the operational rules within it. The Dream Realm's operational rules are unique, starkly different from the supreme rules of the Land of Origin. The Dream Realm's rules are not as impeccable as the supreme rules of the Land of Origin. But they are also of a very high level, far beyond the reach of lives within the braided cage. The 9 tree life forms, with 3 of them being mightier than the Emperor of Qiankuan and the other 6 possessing the invincible standard of the first realm of Godly King, were relatively clumsy and low in intelligence. This was a common trait among all Dream Realm creatures. At this moment, the 9 tree life forms were being eroded invisibly. The bodies of these life forms started to show signs of erosion, with the weaker 6 ones almost immediately riddled with numerous holes, while the strong 3 also suffered great reductions in strength. What a terrifying poison! Luo Feng was shocked by this scene. I heard this poison not only erodes the physical body but also the soul. That Godly King from the Imperial clan of Thunder God Country was struck by the poison, his soul extinguished instantly, dying completely before he could reincarnate. This was Cloud Sky God King. Her poison was not part of any poison under the supreme rules. Instead, it was a terrifying poison unearthed from the primordial bloodline that even life forms below the ultimate realm dreaded. Including Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King, who also had to be very careful in dealing with it. Invisible and colorless, one cannot see how it is deployed, but all these Dream Realm creatures are affected. Luo Feng understood why the Reincarnation Tower would make an exception to recruit a Godly King in the first realm. Boom! 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 3 terrifying bolts of lightning struck the 3 mighty tree life forms, instantly leaving them severely damaged. Emperor Guishu revealed 8 arms, each arm wielding weapons of immense power. With simultaneous strikes from 8 arms, in the blink of an eye, the 3 damaged tree life forms were completely shattered and obliterated. Wuxin God King was even faster. With just 6 strikes of his sword, he killed the 6 weaker tree life forms whose strength had been greatly diminished. Luo Feng, meanwhile, used the power of the world to protect the treasures and prepared to block any impacts with his physical body. Fortunately, Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King were both efficient and did not affect the nearby plants. Emperor Guishu, the intelligence reports say he cultivated the origin Tao of matter. But his 8 arms are capable of unleashing 8 different attacks including thunder, bloodlight, fire, and water rays, and their combination is too much even for the second realm of Godly King to withstand. Luo Feng could sense the terror of this combined assault. In terms of strength, he could fight on equal terms with a mighty plant life form, one-on-one. But to destroy it? Luo Feng couldn't do that. Emperor Guishu's overwhelming power, even though it was assisted by the poison from Cloud Sky God King, still astonished Luo Feng. Not surprisingly, he was someone who, despite relinquishing a secret treasure, was able to reincarnate even after a long-prepared joint attack from 3 emperors. And what he was demonstrating now were probably just some ordinary techniques, not his desperate killing moves. It's been relatively easy, Emperor Guishu said with a smile, observing the purple flowers. These 7 purple heart realm flowers are of good quality. Wuxin, you do the picking. Wuxin God King nodded. Luo Feng and Cloud Sky God King watched on. This had all been agreed upon beforehand. Among the 4 of them, Wuxin God King had the strongest survival capabilities and was the most suitable to carry the treasures. They would distribute them after exiting the Dream Realm. According to the earlier agreement, Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King would each take 35%, Luo He, for leading the way, would take 20%, and Cloud Sky God King would take 10%. In the harsh environment of the Dream Realm, leading the way was extremely important. Should someone contribute significantly during the process, they would discuss afterwards and adjust the distribution ratio. Wuxin God King was very adept, picking all 7 purple heart realm flowers. Then he smiled at Luo Feng and said, "Brother Luo He, the number of treasures we will get depends on how many you can find." "I'm already trying hard to find them," Luo Feng replied. His 9 avatars were risking danger, scouting various areas. Time passed. Luo Feng and his team were highly efficient, unraveling the location of treasures every day or 2 on average. These treasures were of great aid even to the second realm of Godly King, and they were all very valuable. Luo Feng was in excellent spirits. According to the 20% share agreement, each time he could earn at least 1 million merit points, which was much faster than the earnings from the missions as a guest elder in Flame Wind Ancient Country. Emperor Guishu, Wuxin God King, and Cloud Sky God King were quite composed about it since they were already accustomed to it. For someone like Emperor Guishu, earning hundreds of millions of merit points in one visit to the Dream Realm was quite ordinary. Of course, if one miscalculated and their true body died here, the loss would be immense. Emperor Guishu and Cloud Sky God King had both experienced true body deaths in their ventures across various treasure sites, a misfortune that had befallen them more than once. However, they had already extracted part of their primordial bloodline from their true bodies and safely stored it in the outside world, merely requiring enough treasured nurturing items for them to cultivate back to form. Other than the time Wuxin God King deliberately died for a rebirth cycle, he indeed had never died on a treasure adventure. In this space, the share allocated to me already exceeds 10 million merit points in treasure. According to the plan, we are set to explore 5 Dream Realm spaces in the middle layer, thought Luo Feng. The more spaces explored, the higher the likelihood of accidents. An accident could arise either from the Dream Realm itself or from other cultivators. The 5 spaces were chosen by Emperor Guishu and the others based on past experiences. Luo Feng estimated that exploring these 5 spaces should garner him hundreds of millions of merit points in treasure. This was the type of resource that truly powerful beings from the land of origin valued. Compared to these treasure sites, the appeal of commanding a territory seemed much less significant. It was only the ordinary godly kings, walkers, disciples, and clan members under their command who were more in need of territories. The team from 2 Realms Palace was also exploring this forest space. The white-haired palace master suddenly looked up into the distance. The other 6 second realm godly kings in the team turned their gazes toward the palace master, trusting in his capabilities. How interesting. After locking onto a trace of aura, the white-haired palace master looked into the distance, his gaze following the trail of the aura through an endless expanse, seeing Luo Feng's team in action. "It's the team from Reincarnation Tower, and one of them is Gui Shu," said the white-haired palace master with a smile. In the treasure realms, identities were concealed so that even if someone acquired a precious treasure, the land of origin would not know the actual identity of the powerful being who obtained it. But Emperor Gui Shu didn't care. He couldn't be publicly recognized in the outside world, either. Reincarnation Tower? Them again? The 6 second realm godly kings behind all harbored hostility. Although the members of Reincarnation Tower were few, they had clashed over treasures time and again, and 2 realms palace had often found themselves on the losing end, which naturally led to growing animosity. "Since we've encountered our old friends from the Reincarnation Tower, we should obviously present them with a gift," said the white-haired palace master. "That group of dream realm creatures we found earlier is extremely protective. Ju Yu, go capture one creature from that group and lead the whole dream realm creature tribe to the Reincarnation Tower team's location. First, let the dream realm creature tribe severely weaken them, then we'll make our move and wipe them out in one fell swoop, killing as many true bodies as possible," the white-haired palace master said, his eyes cold. He united the 2 realms palace members. Yet for those outside of the 2 realms palace and other forces vying for treasures, he had never been merciful. "Palace master, leave it to me," the winged woman said excitedly. "This Reincarnation Tower team probably has explored several dream realm spaces and should have a considerable haul. If we kill their true bodies, we might obtain some treasures. Last time, they destroyed my true body. One by one, they were filled with hostility. Luo Feng and the other 3 were enjoying wine and delicious food by a lake. Of course, Luo Feng's 9 avatars continued treasure hunting. This forest space should yield a few more treasures, and then we'll have about enough," said Emperor Gui Shu. "Then we can move on to the next dream realm space." "Yes," Luo Feng nodded. "The easier to obtain treasures have all been taken. The next ones are indeed guarded more securely, some by ultimate realm dream realm creatures, some by vast tribes of dream realm creatures." Wuxing God King suddenly frowned and turned his head to look into the distance. Emperor Gui Shu, Cloud Sky God King, and Luo Feng also became alert, although their sensing capabilities were nowhere near that of Wuxing God King. Whoosh! Suddenly, a winged woman holding a stone monster emerged from the void, charging straight at Luo Feng and his colleagues. 2 realms palaces. Although they couldn't be sure of the winged woman's real identity, her current disguise was something Emperor Gui Shu and the others had seen many times. "I'm bringing you a gift," the winged woman sneered. Boom! As the winged woman, bearing the stone monster, came near where Emperor Gui Shu and the others were, they seemed to encounter an invisible fluctuation and suddenly exploded into fine dust. Rumble tilde tilde tilde, one after another, towering stone monsters appeared from the void, followed by smaller ones. At a glance, there were hundreds of stone monsters swarming the scene. These stone monsters stood in midair, with tears streaming down, then turned hateful gazes on the 4, Luo Feng and his companions, as their fury made the whole world start to bleed red, sending chills down their spines. In the far distance, the 2 realms palace team watched on, led by their palace master, who was using a secret technique to observe the scene. Not good. Emperor Gui Shu, Wuxing God King, and Cloud Sky God King all changed color. Having explored the dream domain multiple times, they were far more experienced than Luo Feng and knew the terrifying aspects of such massive dream realm creature groups. The most terrifying thing about the dream realm creatures group was their ability to coordinate their powers perfectly, as if they were a single entity. Boom tilde tilde tilde, the whole world began to turn bloody, and the rules of the dream domain were changing around the hundreds of stone monsters at the core, their endless hatred directed towards Luo Feng and the others. The surrounding vast area exerted a tremendous binding and compressing force, squeezing Luo Feng and the 4 of them. This binding and compressing force was not physical strength, it was a rule. Luo Feng's power of the world could not be weakened, and the means of Emperor Gui Shu and the others could not resist, they could only withstand it forcibly. The more dream realm creatures there are, the greater their impact on the rules of the dream domain. Hundreds of Dream Realm creatures have already significantly altered the surrounding rules. We need to find a way to escape, transmitted Emperor Gui Shu. My hidden sky tunneling technique is also suppressed by the Dream Domain's rules, unable to remain hidden, Wuxin God King also transmitted anxiously. Any escape technique, including those from Two Realms Palace, One Far Tower, and Time-Space Lonely Boat led by alien races, failed to hide under the rules prescribed by alien races. If they could hide, they would be able to steal various rare treasures at will. My poison fog is also being suppressed and cannot spread, even though Cloud Sky God King's poison fog was invisible and hard to detect. At this moment, the operational rules of the Dream Domain suppressed it from all directions. Roar tilde tilde tilde. Accompanied by the roar of the largest stone monster, a large group of stone monsters attacked at once, making the whole world tremble. Emperor Gui Shu immediately displayed his 8 arms and collided with the stone monster leader. Bang! The stone monster leader, being incredibly large, swung down its massive arm with no finesse, only endless overwhelming power. Meanwhile, Emperor Gui Shu's 8 arms held weapons, enabling him to deflect, transform the force, and counterattack with many subtle techniques. However, with one collision, Emperor Gui Shu was shaken back flying, while the stone monster leader only took 1 step back. Don't clash head-on with it at all costs, transmitted Emperor Gui Shu. Its strength is comparable to mine. In terms of prowess, the stone monster leader far surpassed him. However, in terms of realm, Emperor Gui Shu's was high enough to fight an evenly matched battle. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Wuxin God King drew his sword. The moment he drew his sword, it created countless densely packed sword shadows, which covered all the stone monsters. The intangible domain naturally weakened these sword shadows, but they still landed on every stone monster. For those stone monsters of large size, they remained completely unharmed, only those smaller ones showed some scars on their surface. A move that divided into numerous sword shadows, while not particularly powerful, also allowed Wuxin God King to understand the details of the whole Dream Realm creature group. This Dream Realm creatures group, its leader has reached the peak of the 2nd level of the God King realm, and there are also 92 others that can be considered as being in the 2nd realm of Godly King. Moreover, over 200 qualify as being in the 1st realm of Godly King, each with an extremely resilient body, Wuxin God King immediately transmitted to his companions. In the distance, the team from Two Realms Palace was present. The white-haired palace master utilized secret technique, causing the clash between the stone monster group and Reincarnation Tower team to appear before him in the air. This massive Dream Realm creature group unites their powers to form a domain of rules. It suppresses all extensive domains, making escape difficult for the Reincarnation Tower. Members of the Two Realms Palace watched with pleasure. These Dream Realm creatures have the strength of the 2nd realm of Godly Kingdom, numbering close to 100, the white-haired palace master said with a smile. Together, they can easily crush the Reincarnation Tower. It would be quite an achievement if even one of those 4 survives. Dream Realm creatures don't care about secret treasure weapons. After they die, we can collect the treasures they leave behind, ha ha ha. It's about time the Reincarnation Tower took a big loss. They watched from afar. Besides the palace master, the other 6 were also at the peak of the 2nd level of God King realm, each a ruler in the land of origin. In the outside world, they seldom had conflicts. However, in certain treasure-rich areas, their contradictions were substantial. For instance, if they discovered an extremely precious treasure, would they yield? Naturally, they wouldn't. Conflict after conflict, resentment accumulated over time. The struggle for resources in the land of origin was complex. The independent godly kings had conflicts and grudges among themselves, just like the mountain-sitting guest who deeply resented the 3 rulers of the Hensi country. Many independent godly kings also competed with the 2 ancient countries, some befriended and others sided with these ancient powers. Even within the 2 ancient countries, the emperors and monarchs would turn against each other. You killed my disciple's entire family and stole my cultivation resources? So what if you're also an emperor? If you can act ruthlessly, can't I retaliate? Among these beings of long lifespans, only a few remained in very good terms. Reincarnation Tower. The white-haired palace master watched the scene from afar. His true body was powerful enough to rival the ancestors of the 2 countries, and among the resources left by Yuan, only the very top tier attracted him. This reincarnation tower has spoiled my plans multiple times. The white-haired palace master had suffered losses too. Reincarnation tower has the Wind City Empress and the Earth God King. Their high-level strength far exceeds ours. For many powerhouses in the land of origin, the members of Reincarnation Tower were a secret. However, for the white-haired palace master, as soon as he had seen them once, he identified the identities of the Wind City Empress and the Earth God King. But what good was breaking their identities? Once the teams of the Wind City Empress and the Earth God King from the Reincarnation Tower entered a treasure site, the teams from the Two Realms Palace, One Far Tower, and Time-Space Lonely Boat couldn't compare. However, when exploring treasure lands, the number of strong fighters is also very important. The Two Realms Palace had many members, being the first major force in the shadows, with multiple teams exploring treasure lands. As a palace master deploying avatars to assist, he naturally expected a large share of merit points. Most of these treasures he didn't keep for himself, instead, he exchanged them for the chance-based treasures he needed. Emperor Guishu transmitted urgently, "We must find the weaknesses of this Dream Realm creature group as soon as possible, then use the weaknesses to make a quick escape. If we delay too long, we won't be able to escape. Except for Brother Witch Heart, I fear none of us can escape," Cloud Sky God King also said urgently. In the team, neither Emperor Guishu nor Cloud Sky God King had an avatar. Once their true body died, even if they could cultivate again using the resurrection carrier, starting over and nurturing the primordial bloodline to regain peak strength would be a huge expense. It might take exploring the Dream Realm 10 times to make up for it. "I'll try to find the weaknesses," Wuxin God King transformed into a blur of flowing light in an instant. The flowing light spread, intending to cover a group of stone monsters. However, the largest stone monster leader, upon seeing the vast expanse of blurry light, let out a furious roar. With this roar, heaven and earth trembled, the world twisted, and the might caused even Emperor Guishu to slightly change his expression, also forcing Wuxin God King's flowing light to recondense into his true body. Phew! Even though the Cloud Sky God King had cultivated the primordial bloodline and possessed an extremely formidable physique, he was still roared at until his skin cracked open. Luo Feng's world life form also felt quite uncomfortable. "This leader is too difficult to deal with," the Wuxin God King said anxiously. "This time the trouble is big." Emperor Guishu waved his 8 arms, struggling to resist. "Let me try," Luo Feng suddenly transmitted. "Huh?" Emperor Guishu, Wuxin God King, and Cloud Sky God King all paused in surprise. He's going to try? Facing this vast group of Dream Realm creatures, mainly Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King were devising a response strategy and did not expect the Cloud Sky God King or the Luohe God King, both at the first realm of the Godly King, to be of much help. Luo Feng had merely observed for a moment and had already gathered a lot of intelligence on the stone monster group, forming a plan in his mind. Whoosh! Standing still, Luo Feng suddenly transformed into a dense swarm of black shadows, dark figures darting in every direction. Luo Feng avoided the 4 strongest stone monsters. Based on his earlier observations, the stone monster leader was comparable to Emperor Guishu, and 3 extremely powerful stone monsters each had strength akin to the Emperor of Qiankuan. Luo Feng chose to give up completely, leaving them to Brother Guishu and Brother Wuxin to handle. As for the other stone monsters, Luo Feng took them all on. Huff, huff, huff. The 200-plus First Realm God King tier stone monsters encountered over 200 black-scaled, golden-horned Luo Fengs. Each avatar was merely a 1/10,000th energy reserve of a world life form. Each used only simple techniques, which also kept the burden on spiritual will sufficiently low. Even using simple techniques, a world life form with 1/10,000th energy reserve still had the ultimate strength of a First Realm God King tier, perfectly entangling these stone monsters. The stone monsters moved clumsily, and so did Luo Feng. The bodies of the stone monsters were tough and nearly impossible to destroy, and so was Luo Feng's. He had no intention of destroying these stone monsters. Entangling them was much simpler than destruction. Huff, huff, huff. There were also 89 Second Realm God King tier stone monsters, each encountering avatars with 1/2000th energy reserves. These avatars were slightly weaker than when Luo Feng had fought against the Emperor of Qiankuan, but because he had mastered all 6 branches of the Great Tao of Destruction origin, Luo Feng's combat methods had greatly improved. These 89 avatars, merely adequate in technique for a godly king tier, held an absolute advantage in technique against the stone monsters. And these 89 stone monsters were generally weaker than the Emperor of Qiankuan. Contending with 89 second realm god king tier stone monsters with 89 avatars, Luo Feng felt relatively manageable. He could still hold on, maintaining over 300 avatars at once. Even with Luo Feng's deep spiritual foundations, far surpassing any other godly king, even though his spiritual will had already reached the ultimate bottleneck of a godly king tier, he felt it was pushing the limit of what his mind could endure. Boom, boom, boom tilde tilde tilde. The 300+ stone monsters and the 300+ black-scaled, golden-horned figures tangled in a fierce brawl, both sides' bodies tough and nearly indestructible, brimming with vitality. The stone monster leader and the 3 extremely strong stone monsters were stunned. They were the only 4 not entangled. Even the well-traveled Emperor Guishu, Wuxin God King, and Cloud Sky God King felt baffled. How is this possible? How could this be achievable? Impossible. Even the team from 2 Realms Palace watching from a distance couldn't believe what they were seeing. Each of his avatars can contend with a dream realm creature. To simultaneously control so many avatars, it's like single-handedly manipulating a huge group of dream realm creatures by himself. Even if his techniques are clumsy, controlling such a vast life form, the burden on the soul, on the spiritual will, this is definitely not something a normal godly king can do, a slender figure said. Over 300 avatars, each still so powerful? How does he control them? Has his spiritual will surpassed the godly king tier? But on the land of origin, how many can do this? The dominant palace masters present couldn't believe it. Having seen much, they understood all the more how difficult this was to achieve. The white-haired palace master watched this scene and was also secretly astonished. This black-scaled, golden-horned one, I cannot even determine his identity from his aura. Obviously the concealment of his aura has reached an incredible degree. How does he control so many avatars? Soul path? Or is there another reason? The white-haired palace master firmly memorized the appearance of the black-scaled, golden-horned figure. Another mysterious powerhouse. Emperor Guishu, Wuxin God King, and Cloud Sky God King were all stunned by Luo Feng. Brother Guishu, Brother Wuxin, aren't you going to make a move? The 300+ black-scaled, golden-horned Luo Fengs urged simultaneously. I have already held them off. Quickly break them one by one. Handling so many dream realm creatures at the same time, Luo Feng also felt tired. Okay. Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King responded, while feeling their worldviews being overturned. A first realm godly king, actually able to achieve this? Not long ago, wasn't Brother Luo He managing only 10 avatars when he contended with the Emperor of Qiankuan? Wuxin God King's sword suddenly split into 12 swords, forming a sword array, and attacked the stone monster leader and 3 other formidable stone monsters simultaneously. Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King worked together seamlessly. Seeing his friend deploy the sword array, he also burst forth entirely, his primordial bloodline fully unleashed, spreading surging crimson flames. Ignoring the extreme burst of power that damaged his physical body, Emperor Guishu also used one of his 2 ultimate realm secret techniques, Heaven and Earth Great Destruction. Boom boom boom. Emperor Guishu, with 8 arms wielding 8 weapons, twisted heaven and earth. With the first strike, he wielded a massive hammer, cracking the colossal stone monster's body. The third strike was a black axe, which cleaved the stone monster's body in 2 with a painful wail. In the blink of an eye, a series of earth-shattering moves returned all things to chaos, turning that stone monster into a stream of chaotic energy. This scene astonished the other stone monsters. Emperor Guishu's explosion is truly fierce, Luo Feng murmured to himself. That stone monster was comparable in strength to the Emperor of Qiankuan. Its tough body was not inferior to the Emperor of Qiankuan's primordial bloodline, yet it was blasted into bits after more than 10 hits. Beautiful, exclaimed Wuxin God King with delight. Guishu, quickly eliminate those lesser stone monsters. I'll handle these 3 formidable ones. Now merely entangling the stone monster leader and 2 other formidable stone monsters, Wuxin God King's burden was significantly lightened. His sword array was fully capable. Roar tilde tilde. The stone monster leader roared angrily, and the other 2 formidable stone monsters also attacked furiously. The sword array of Wuxin God King was incredibly robust, trapping the 3 like a cage, allowing them to watch helplessly as Emperor Guishu, fully bursting forth, moved to slaughter the entangled stone monsters. Those over 300 stone monsters were being entangled by more than 300 Luophone's avatars. Boom! 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 Where Emperor Guishu passed, those stone monsters with the strength of Second Realm of Godly King differed in power. The stronger ones required 3 or 4 moves to kill. The weaker ones might be smashed into pieces with 1 hammer blow. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 stone monsters were dead. The entire group of stone monsters started to stir. Although their intelligence was low, they could feel anger, fear, and attachment to their peers. Converge, the furious stone monster leader roared, his voice carrying his will. Previously, this group of Dream Realm creatures had sought to trap Luophone and prevent their escape. But now, at the leader's command, they no longer dispersed but began to converge actively. The stone monster leader, with his 2 powerful subordinates, also actively moved to converge with the others. Booming sounds echoed tilde tilde tilde. More than 300 avatars of Luophone could only entangle, not trap the enemy. As these stone monsters continued to converge, they naturally began to merge. They can merge into one, said Emperor Guishu. Wuxin God King laughed, they've given up surrounding us. Once merged into one, while seemingly more robust, they became a single entity. A clumsy entity, even with terrifying might, still couldn't stop the Reincarnation Tower team from escaping. Booming sounds tilde tilde, with the stone monster leader also converging with his kind and merging into it, the super large stone monster formed was immensely huge. Retreat! Luophone and his team were not afraid at all. With the escape techniques of Wuxin God King at the ultimate realm level, both the agility and speed of their flight were significantly superior to the super large stone monster, quickly losing it and fleeing far away. Roar tilde tilde tilde, the super large stone monster stood there, roaring angrily and reluctantly, chasing for a few hundred steps, but Wuxin God King had already escaped from the influence of the Dream Realm creature's domain, completely disappearing. They actually let them escape. From a distance, members of the 2 realms palace felt somewhat regretful. Although the members of the Reincarnation Tower are strong, if surrounded by nearly 100 Second Realm God Kings, they would probably have died in large numbers this time, said a winged woman, shaking her head. But this time there was one who was skilled in using avatars. Being able to simultaneously control hundreds of avatars, entangling 89 Second Realm Dream Realm creatures. Although it's just entangling, it's still quite remarkable. Land of Origin, another troublesome being has risen. Observers from various parties watched. They all were Second Realm overlords, but they also understood that even within the Second Realm, differences were substantial. Like the boat master of the time-space lonely boat, who cultivated only one great Tao, the time primordial Tao, he was the highest achiever in this path across the entire Land of Origin. Even at the peak of the Second Realm of Godly King, he walked different timelines, with 3 versions of himself. Even the emperors and monarchs of the Land of Origin found him a headache. Emperors and monarchs, even with ultimate realm life forms, could only interact with his present body, unable to threaten the time-space lonely boat's past body and future body. Like Wuxin God King, who never died a single time in his true body in his countless years of cultivation, except for that one time he willingly went to die through reincarnation, whether it was being surrounded by emperors or the dangers in various treasured lands. Such Second Realm beings are naturally much stronger than those like the Emperor of Tiankuan or the Monarch of Yu Country. He can entangle so many Dream Realm creatures because they are low in intelligence and simple in techniques. If he encounters God Kings, their moves are much more sophisticated, and he would find it tough to even entangle one. It would require a lot of effort. Even so, entangling 7 or 8 God Kings in the Second Realm would probably not be difficult. His real identity, I wonder which old fellow it is. Everyone concealed their aura and altered their appearance. They naturally suspected Luo Feng was an old figure in reality. Probably some peak existence in the second realm of Godly King. The team from Reincarnation Tower had never seen him before. It looks like they have another member now, they said. Although the white-haired palace master was surprised that Reincarnation Tower had an additional formidable member, he wasn't too concerned. In the land of origin, there were many more troublesome than Luo Feng, like Wind City Empress and Earth God King. If someone of their caliber were to appear, that would truly shake the entire land of origin. Let's go, there's no need to stay in this dream realm space any longer. Let's move to the next one, the white-haired palace master said. Let's go. The team from Two Realms Palace quietly left that space and headed towards the next dream realm space. Under the leadership of Wuxin God King, Luo Feng and the others quickly escaped from the pursuit of a gigantic stone monster. Ha ha, we all survived, Emperor Guishu laughed. Thanks to Brother Luo He, Wuxin God King looked at Luo Feng. Brother Luo He, your clone technique has been cultivated to an unimaginable level. There aren't many in the entire land of origin who can compare to you. Luo Feng smiled. There are still many. Emperors and monarchs who excel in cloning outnumber the fingers on one hand. I just have this technique going for me, Luo Feng said. I'm much worse in other areas. The previously agreed share distribution doesn't seem suitable now, Emperor Guishu said. Brother Luo He not only scouts for dangers and treasures. When facing strong enemies, he can also help intercept many foes. In that case, Guishu and I will each give half of our share to Brother Luo He, Wuxin God King said. That way, Guishu, I, and Brother Luo He each have 30%. With Luo He's powerful avatar, I actually benefit, Cloud Sky God King laughed. While her share percentage seemed unchanged, the team's overall strength was stronger, and they found more treasures, hence her share was naturally larger. She was self-aware that with her contributions, having 10% was already quite generous. I won't decline then, Luo Feng was straightforward. That's the spirit, Emperor Guishu said. This time we were outsmarted by that winged woman, whose real identity I don't know, but I've encountered her several times in these treasure lands. She's a member of the Two Realms Palace. Two Realms Palace has calculated against us again. Wuxin God King was also quite annoyed. I just tried to track them too, but they are very good at hiding their traces, and I couldn't detect any sign. In terms of tracking enemy trails, Wuxin God King is likewise extremely strong. The teams from Two Realms Palace generally have a Palace Master's avatar leading them, Emperor Guishu said. The Palace Master of Two Realms Palace, after all, belongs to an alien race, with a realm comparable to that of the ancestors of two countries. If he intends to hide, none of us can find him. At this moment, Luo Feng also understood why the two ancient countries were specifically targeting Two Realms Palace, One Far Tower, and Time-Space Lonely Boat. With these three major alien forces, numerously divided into teams and led by alien race powerhouses avatars to fight for fortunes, their perceptive and competitive strength in targeting top-tier treasures was much stronger than that of Reincarnation Tower. We'll find an opportunity later, Wuxin God King said. Brother Luo He, conflicts among different forces are a common occurrence. You will witness even more in the future, Emperor Guishu smiled. Luo Feng nodded. We should also leave this dream realm space. Two palaces have searched here as well, so the easily found treasures are probably scarce now. Okay. Let's head to the next dream realm space. The team from Reincarnation Tower quickly left and continued to search another dream realm space. Inside this mountain forest space, Luo Feng left a world life form avatar here. This one held 1,000th of the energy reserves and would naturally absorb energy slowly and grow over time. This mountain forest space, previously explored by Reincarnation Tower and Two Realms Palace, holds few treasures. I expect it'll be quite peaceful for a while. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on a patch of grass. Dream realm creatures are usually in fixed territories. Only in very rare cases do they leave their territories. I'll try practicing the Great Destruction heart refining technique here. Luo Feng didn't rush to cultivate in the deeper spaces of the dream realm, as he still needed to accompany his companions to hunt for treasures, and the deep dream realm spaces placed too much strain on spiritual will, potentially affecting his combat performance. The middle layers of the Dream Realm's mountain forest space were more suitable. Boom tilde tilde tilde. Upon initiating the Great Destruction heart-refining technique, it immediately transformed into a dark chaotic hole that enveloped the spiritual will, constantly squeezing, crushing, strangling, and annihilating the spiritual will. The illusions of the middle dream realm also continuously infiltrated Luo Feng's mind. The increasingly adverse environment naturally provided a more distinct tempering of the spiritual will. The slight stray thoughts influenced by the environment, losing stability, were naturally crushed and annihilated by the dark chaotic whole, making Luo Feng's spiritual will even purer. Cultivating the spirit is an everlasting endeavor. Luo Feng understood this. Because as time passes, new stray thoughts emerge. Constant self-tempering is the only way to make progress. If one stops moving forward, it might even lead to regression. This is also why some powerhouses in Thunder Ancient Country lose control halfway. They might suppress the residual wills in their bloodlines for a while, but as soon as stray thoughts arise and the mind wavers slightly, the residual wills can rebound and cause them to lose control. The environment of the dream realm is quite suitable for the Great Destruction heart-refining technique. Luo Feng calmly continued his cultivation, his other avatars accompanying Emperor Guishu and the others in their treasure hunt. This episode is end here.